All right, I'm Chris Schultz, and I'm here with Jason Bentley, who's going to be performing on Friday night at Cosmico. Welcome, Jason. So excited to have you at Cosmico.
My pleasure. Thank you, Chris.
Jason is the music director, DJ, longtime host of Metropolis on KCRW.
So you must be excited. It's coming up real soon.
It's coming up. It's coming up. Yeah, we've got a week and a half. It's till we launch. Yeah, it's going to be great. We're excited. Things are coming along. So, yeah, it's going to be
And
fun.
fill me in a little bit. Is this the first year, the second, the fifth? How long you been doing it?
We have been doing it for, this is really the first year, but we say it's the fifth year because the first 3 years were in our backyard here in Healdsburg. And then last year we did a show in here in Healdsburg and then had the bands down in Mexico and did a show in Todos Santos in
Oh,
Mexico,
oh, wow.
which was a lot logistically, although and a lot of fun. But we're now taking it up and getting more serious about it. And so it's a first 3 day festival, first with a venue like Don Ranch where we'll be. So yeah, we're making it a thing.
It looks stunning online. I mean, beautiful.
It's really a beautiful spot, and I think it's just going to be a great place to hear music, share an experience with a relatively small group. I think we're going to be around 500 people for a festival atmosphere. Pretty boutique, pretty manageable.
Sure.
Yeah, it's going to be fun.
Thanks for reaching out and thanks for having me. I'm excited. And to be honest with you, I'm not very familiar with the artists on the bill. What got me was your poster design. I just saw that and the whole like music is love thing. I looked at that and I was like, I don't know what this is, but I'm down for this.
That's super cool. It meant a lot to me, your response and your enthusiasm. And I think that's the magical thing that's happening, even with the artists who are participating and people. It's a big leap of faith for people because it's a first time thing, it's a new thing. So the poster conveys the ethos, music is love. I think that music is obviously an expression of love, just like wine can be, food can be. And I think we really wanted to convey the kind of the positivity, the whether it's post-pandemic healing or anything else people are going through in their lives, that's definitely the ethos that we're trying to create here.
Sure. Best wishes with it. I think you'll probably look back on it and with all the success and challenges that come with that, you'll look back at the simple times and, and think fondly of this whole like early phase.
I know it is. I've been saying that, or actually, people have been saying that to me, and so I've been reinforcing it. As we've been approaching partners and trying to get people on board, people have been saying the best one is always the first one, and this
Yeah.
is going to be the first one. So this is the one not to miss. You don't have a whole lot to put out there and market, but this is the one to go to, and I
We
agree.
we can
It's going to
always
be
say, I
cool.
remember when the very
Yeah.
yeah, cool. Well, I know you went to South by, so obviously your intention is to build relationships and build more momentum around this.
Yeah, I've been in and around music, just a appreciator, not a musician, but as an appreciator for my whole life. And now in the last couple of years, honestly, post-pandemic, I had a little kind of, okay, what am I doing? I'm turning 50. And so what am I do? What do I want to do with the next phase? Let's do something that I really passionate about and care about. Yeah, I've been going to South by for a long time, but I was on the tech side of it for a while. The first South by I went to was music, probably 25 years ago, then went to the tech side, and then now back to music and went to Coachella for a long time. So always enjoyed that. And I think I conveyed in my email, but I lived in Southern California in the late 90s. And so I've been a KCRW fan ever since. And so have been listening to you for years, Metropolis, and now Morning Becomes Eclectic. And it's a big influence. KCRW has been a huge influence on my life, my tastes, my musical journey. So I appreciate that. Thank you for that.
Absolutely. My pleasure. Yeah, the same is true for me, just that whole community. has been a rare and special time.
Awesome. Yeah. So your set will be everybody who is staying on site. And so the people staying on site have a VIP ticket. So it'll be a smaller group, a little more intimate and good kind of after party vibes. I imagine the party will be energetic and keep rolling and will be fun.
Terrific. I'll be ready for anything. The beauty of DJing nowadays is that you can bring a few flash drives and you can have days and days of music.
I'm a huge KCRW fan. One of the things that KCRW has meant to me in my life is just the discovery of music, which is what Cosmico is all about. Our bands, we've been really trying to convey, share with our audience who the bands are, because not all of the headliners are people that people but the joy of music discovery, I think, is something that people really share. People like hearing a band and becoming a new favorite band. Tell me about your journey and the influence of music discovery on KCRW and your journey.
Sure. Yeah, as you say, KCRW is a very special place and a very special community, both the people that work there and the audience that sustains it. It's a public radio station and we're listener supported. I stumbled in as a teenager growing up here in West LA and Santa Monica. I came down after high school looking for something to do in the summer after high school before leaving for college and discovered this wonderful world. KCRW had been on in my home and NPR had been on in my home for years prior to that. But to really understand the people that made it work and start to volunteer there and become closer and more integrated in the music department, working in the music library, being assistant to DJs on the air, and then getting my own show eventually. It was a very special time. I served as music director eventually for around 11 years. And also during that time hosted the morning show, Morning Becomes Eclectic. And it was a thrill ride. Every day was a different challenge and interesting and stimulating. And being able to interact with creative people and emerging artists and established artists, and just ran the gamut. And yeah, I still do my show Metropolis for them now, but I'm much less involved. I really stepped down around the end of 2019. And then, of course, by the spring of 2020, the pandemic hit, and that really turned everything upside down. For several months, the whole station was closed. Everyone was doing their radio shows remotely. So it was a really bizarre stretch of about 2 years. As we all know, it was an inflection point on so many different levels. So yeah, the good news is that KCRW is still healthy and still serving its mission in terms of music and culture and news and information. And it's a wonderful place.
That's great. And just on the aspect of discovering music and new artists, you and I were emailing a little bit about South by Southwest, and that's a place to go to. I'm just curious, how do you keep up? How do you inform your tastes and your music discovery? Where do you get your sonic landscape and soundtrack from?
I've built over the years these trusted resources, and that could be label groups, it could be managers, it could be publishing companies, it could be artist direct. I've always been a musical and cultural omnivore, so I'm interested in all ideas and sounds and directions. And yeah, I guess it's just a lifestyle. When I was hosting Morning Becomes Eclectic for so many years, it would be a little more disciplined in terms of auditioning music because I really had more of a responsibility with the job to review and audition so much more. So that had to come with some structure. Nowadays, it's more leisurely, but I'm just naturally inquisitive. I'm just interested in what's next and what's different. And music has always been a calling for me that it just transcends. It's something that I can't even fully control. Like, I'm the type of person where I will notice music in an environment, even if it's meant to be ambient or just in a restaurant playing in the background. I'll always engage that. And so when you recognize that about yourself over time, you realize that this is something important. This is a calling. And I'm sure a lot of I'm sure you can, and then a lot of people can understand that. And that's not true for everyone, but I found it to be something that I couldn't tune out. I couldn't turn down. It was just something I always became fixated with. Also, culture. One of the most gratifying things about working at KCRW is the various events and public programs that we do, which are all free. And we built up an incredible summer program. And these are events big and small, maybe as big as 5,000 people at times. But to be able to be the mad scientist, and you'll probably appreciate this too, since you're creating Cosmico now, but to hatch a plan and dream it and then work with a group to realize your ideas and putting the pieces together. And one of my favorite things to do when we'd create these events is just sit back and watch doors open because you see just some people pour in and run for their spot on the grass or whatever it may be. And it's just the best feeling when you see culture react when the spark happens. I just love that feeling.
I love that too. And one of the things that we are going for with Cosmico, with music, because music has touched me at so many points in my life, and that's the feeling that I want to share, is I feel like when music has this unique ability to move somebody and to open your heart, sometimes it brings you to tears, sometimes it lifts your spirits and you're dancing, but you're in a very open state. And particularly listening to live music performance, the power of music to open people and feel moved, that's a feeling I want people to feel at Cosmico.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's it. That's the connection. That's the transcendence. That's the infinite. That's the collective. It's everything that we strive for. And yeah, that's why I love festivals in general and what they do for people and how important they are for young people in their growth. It's a rite of passage and obviously all ages, but it's so important at that time of their life. And I just came from Coachella recently, which was an annual regional holiday down here is the whole city clears out. But I've never missed a Coachella, and I still love seeing the energy, the people, the music, the connection. And it's changed a lot. And obviously with the success comes the branding and the costs. The food is like ridiculously expensive out there and everything. The tickets are expensive. So all that happens too. It sort of taints the process really. But really, still, when you break it down, I still think the experience holds true to the kind of the promise of what it's offering.
Yeah, Coachella is a special place. I went to Coachella for many years. It's amazing that you've been to every single one. I do remember when it started when I was living in LA. And it has borne a lot of festivals too. We certainly are inspired by Coachella. I'm inspired by Jazz Fest. I lived in New Orleans for 15 years. There is something about the live performance of music, and that can be bands with live instrumentation. It can be DJs, but there's this energy exchange between performer and audience that lifts both. And it's really difficult to recreate that. Maybe impossible over Zoom or Twitch, or I think that communal experience of being together and experiencing music in a physical space, beautiful surroundings at night under the stars, whatever it may be, there's no replacement for that.
I'm glad you appreciate that because I do feel like festivals like Coachella is actually a really good example because they're the top of the game, but we've lost that in some ways. Some of the most exciting and celebrated artists in Coachella are essentially set pieces on stage that don't really convey the nuance of performance. I'm a big fan of some of these artists and DJs, but I don't want to be, as an audience member, I don't want to be questioning whether or not they're performing anything or playing anything. Like the two artists from France that are in the dance and electronic scene are the most exciting ones of the season. Justice and Gesaffelstein have incredible shows, but they're not doing anything. Gesaffelstein is standing there with these kind of crystal shards that are supposed to maybe be keyboard stands. He's not playing anything. He's in a
Wow.
costume with a mask and everything. And this may be a whole different episode, a whole different conversation, but I felt that too many times. Also, with DJ culture, with the rise of EDM, which is the popular pop leaning end of the spectrum, it is so performative. It's just acting crazy in the DJ booth, jumping on the DJ booth, cheering on the crowd. I'm I don't want to be that get off my lawn, you crazy kids, kind of guy. DJing is a craft. It's an artistry of storytelling. There's an arc to it. And there's a technical aspect to getting it right. Technology has made a lot of it easier over time, but that doesn't mean that you can't show that you're trying, that you're putting yourself in an unpredictable creative space where the reward is to see what happens, to see what reacts, to see what you haven't tried before. That I've never gone into it wanting to rehearse everything or choreograph everything with lights and dancers so that I don't have any flexibility to be spontaneous. I want the spontaneous part is the reward. That's what's exciting. And anyway, I do feel like, and I get it because the productions are so complicated and so much part of the experience and the audience expectation that maybe it's just too difficult to leave enough room to just be improvisational because it's so locked to like big events that happen in throughout the show. So
Mhm.
you know, maybe it's just the reality of where it's evolved. But I think both on the big stages and the DJ tents, we've lost touch with the human performance. I don't know. I don't know if that's controversial, but it's definitely something I'm feeling these days.
I think that I certainly echo that and have that awareness, and to a certain extent, concerned by it. If a performance is just like what we know artists do at the Super Bowl, it's so high stakes that it's totally choreographed and recorded, and it's if that's the way we go experience live music, then it does beget the question, why are we there? If it's just all just being played for us, and then there's a hype person pumping it up. There is in performance, whether you're playing a guitar or whether you're blending beats and making sure they're in sync, there's a frequency exchange and an energy exchange that comes back between performer and audience. And if it's just click and play, it loses that, which is a shame. I want to ask you about where music culture and performance is going in your mind from the standpoint of live bands. There have been fewer and fewer live bands that have been able to kind of crack that top echelon. There have been some great headliners at Coachella over the years, Arcade Fire in Phoenix and Beck, but we're not seeing as many up and coming bands able
Yeah.
to command that stage. Do you think that's a decline of rock and roll, or do you think that's just where we are during this period of time?
I would like to think that it's all cyclical and things will swing back in a different direction and also reinvent itself, taking what we've learned along the way and incorporate that into a further evolution. So I don't want to feel that it's over for rock performances or traditional bands. It may be an opportunity for people like yourselves that are giving a chance to for bands to really to play and stretch out and do it the way that you'd like to see it. And so yeah, I do think it's cyclical. Yeah, so I'm interested in who's going to take a chance at incorporating some of the elements and reinventing how they do it.
Yeah. Our main stage acts are all live performance folks we're excited about. Hopefully, some bands that have big careers ahead of them. I enjoyed curating the bands. I think we're all gonna see some great performances at Cosmico. I'm excited about that.
For sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm gonna enjoy it. And it does make me think, just talking with you, it makes me think back to KCRW when we'd have live bands in the studio performing several times a week, and all the effort that went around setting these bands up, getting them ready to broadcast live. But for me, having a row seat to these live performances, White Denim, I don't know if you know that band from
Yeah.
Austin, countless others, they just come to mind because they completely just kill it every time as a band. Like when you see a band where it's like these human beings are just connected on this wavelength of performance, and you're just like, whoa, that's how you do it. I think there's such a power to that you can't diminish that, honestly, down the stretch as we talk about whether something's like in fashion now or whether it'll change. I think that the power of human connection through music, and obviously you've already touched on this, but it's so important. And that's what feeds us. That's what we all love to see.
Yeah, we do. Music does feed our souls. Jason, thanks so much for joining me. We are so excited to have you at
Yeah.
Cosmico in a
Thanks,
week and a
Chris.
half, and really looking forward to your set. And thanks again.
Yeah,
We'll see you in.
I've never been up in Sonoma. I haven't been to Guernsville. So I'm really excited and can't wait to play for you.
Okay.
All right.